Sorry, whoa,
whoa,
whoa. Reverse that one a bit. If I was to make a safe bet, I would say that Melbourne Mavericks is going to win this.
Yeah.
Mindfreak do have a pretty good opportunity, though, I think, to do something special. So I'm really, the jury's out. The jury's out as far as I'm concerned.
So you're not actually going to give us an answer?
I'll say Melbourne Mavericks 3-1.
All right. Well, Little J the first down. And you can see a fair bit of damage going across here. Two very different team comps as well.
Yeah, Mindfreak definitely were ready for the Farah.
They were, but it did not play out in their favour. Very interesting, really, is what we're seeing here. What do you think? What do you think about these straight out? Straight out with the McCree.
I mean, that's not something that's pretty standard at all. So I think that's sort of a counter read from Mindfreak, expecting the Farah.
Yeah. Winter has already got a Rocket Barrage available.
Yeah, we know that Winter does like to play Farah here and there. But this will be a nice position for the Rocket Barrage.
Yeah, it is. Who are you going to catch out? You want to watch out for that umbrella. Nami already finds Aki again, so definitely doing work there with the Widowmaker. The rest of the team follows through, Jordan, and, well, Mindfreak not having much luck here.
Yeah, Nami has actually been starting these fights off really well for Melbourne Mavericks. He's got the first 2 picks of each fight. So it's really been 5v6 for Mindfreak for the majority of this. Davey's having a real trouble getting involved in the fights as well. You can see he's only at 40% of the Primal Rage, so really hasn't been able to have much of an impact, nor has Christoph. So the space that's being provided by the tanks is kind of negligible, which puts a lot of the onus then on the DPS players to kind of pop off.
Gusto in the background, and Aki has been targeted again. And this was Aki who this time had an ultimate available as well. So do you come out aggressively next time around with the Transcendence?
I don't think he actually had the ultimate when he went down. Not that it would have made much of a difference. So I'm not sure that he would have wanted to use it there. But I guess now it's kind of getting to the point where you have to force the Transcendence.
Yep.
Or you're going to lose the match.
Yep.
With 80 seconds left, or 80% already up for Melbourne Mavericks, there's no two ways about it. Forcing the Trance is better than dying.
It's true. Look at all the damage that goes through. Like, yeah. And the EMP is available again. They're not even on the point. They're not even able to fight.
Look at Mini.
We're not even watching the fight. That's how far away it is.
Well, they will just get there, but they'll have to deal with the minefield, and Mini's going to try and boot them away as well. Rocket Barrage should be here as well if Winter wanted it. He could have thrown it onto Swilko, maybe even denied that sound barrier. Now there's a chance for Mindfreak, actually, as they start to work their way back into this fight. Here comes the Rocket Barrage, and Addy will go down to Nami. In the meanwhile, the Resurrect comes across for Fluoro.
Self-destruct in the middle. Christoph finds Nami, but the rest of Mindfreak are going down, and Melbourne came out really quite aggressively here, up to 99% still. You can see the overtime ticking through now. The question is, are they going to be able to eliminate Mindfreak off this point before they're able to put the capture through? Will it be 100-0?
Well, it's taking their sweet time, isn't it, for Melbourne Mavericks? EMP comes out again onto Mindfreak, so that might be what really seals the deal. Actually, the cap goes across to Mindfreak, so somehow that's all occurred in the meanwhile. End of the day, though, I think it really is just a matter of time delaying the inevitable. Winter gets a 2-for-1 deal there onto Suzo J. Now the overtime ticks away. Don't think that Wrecking Ball is going to get there in time. Christoph will not indeed. So Melbourne Mavericks, yeah, like you said, they come out of the gates really strong. I sort of never felt like Mindfreak worked their way into that round, though, if that makes sense. So I don't know if we really got to see all that Mindfreak is going to be able to offer us. The reserve judgment until a bit later on. Definitely a good performance from Melbourne Mavericks, but is Mindfreak defaulting back to the McCree again here? Would be very surprised to see that.
Yeah, well, it didn't really work for them, but then again, nothing really worked for them last round. So if Melbourne run out once more with a very similar looking lineup here, then you can understand why Mindfreak would be coming out with the McCree. It's going to happen. My question is, if you're Aki, do you swap to the Moira if you're having trouble staying alive as it is?
I don't think it's at that point just yet, but certainly an option that they can think about. particularly if you're going to be playing McCree goats, I think you can still get value out of the Moira. But the thing is, like, losing the Discord Orb is such a big deal.
Yeah. Well, Aki's always the first one to go down, and I'm not even blaming Aki for this. It's just that Melbourne are very targeted in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're always after that Zenyatta, and they always seem to find the Zenyatta. They're onto the point here as well. One by one, they're finding those picks.
Well, this is where if Aki wants to keep playing Zenyatta, he needs to say to Swilko, he needs to say to Christoph, hey guys, I need some help. Because it's the Lucio and the Diva that are going to be able to peel for him more than anyone else.
Rocket Barrage available for Winter. Nami also with the Pulse Bomb here, so we'll see who he throws out at. Fluoro goes down, that's a pick in Mindfreak's favor. Can they follow it up with a second? Can they string 2 picks together?
And try and push the rocket
to the point. Yeah, Winter just here. That's 2 picks, that's what they want. And Winter decides probably not going to use the barrage for now. Mindfreak happy, Melbourne happy to give up the point for the first 2 picks not going in their favor. And that's, again, exactly what they need to be doing. So Aki's going to have this, this Transcendence available as well. So that'll certainly help to support ultimates here for Mindfreak.
A little surprising to see Mindfreak actually push out into the courtyard as opposed to try and hold on the point. Would have thought against a composition like this, what the Melbourne Mavericks are running, it'd be better to play in the enclosed angles, but Winter gets dropped immediately.
Oh, the Delay comes out and immediately the EMP is used, Jordan. Aki pops Transcendence, Winter gets picked back up by Fluoro.
DPS Ana here, by the way.
Well, yeah, a little bit odd, don't always see that one, but Forble seeming confident. Primal Rage from Davey. They're already up to 45%, so Mindfreak are definitely making the most of what they've got here, Jordan. But they need to continue for just a little bit longer.
Winter still hasn't found an opportunity to use that rocket barrage at all. Addy doing quite a bit of work in this round, I think, on the McCree to really shut Winter down. Not necessarily to kill him all the time, but to just keep him under pressure. If you're on half HP, you don't want to be throwing out that rocket barrage.
Here we go. The changes coming out for Melbourne now.
But it's too late. It sort of feels the same situation as what we saw for Sitting Drop Bears. You can change, but you're not going to have ultimates for the next fight. So it really relies on a good EMP here from Gusto, and that's where Melbourne Mavericks can start to work their way back in.
Deadeye. Second time's the charm, looking for a pick. Just going to drop the shield. Nami going to get found out by Swilko.
EMP might be too late.
Yeah, Gusto needing to do work soon, and they're going to need to contest here, Jordan, because they're going to run out of time.
It should be pretty easy for Gusto to get a good EMP because Mindfreak is so clumped up on the point. The respawn's probably back now for Melbourne Mavericks.
Going for the back capture. Just in the nick of time as well, and no one's even contesting for now. They're happy to give it across. Fine too. Gusto takes out Aki as that EMP comes through. And he brings it back as Christoph is demeched. And now we're looking for the next picks, and Addy's found 2, so that's nice work. Addy really having a pretty good game here on the McCree, to be perfectly honest. The overtime now comes through with Mindfreak on the point.
Yeah, that was well done.
Very different to what we saw in the last round.
Yeah, well done from Mindfreak. Obviously, they know that the presence of the EMP is there. And so Aki uses the trans early, forces the fight. Mindfreak do take a couple of picks, and then the EMP comes out, and you think, okay, maybe there's a bit of a swing that can come back here in the favor of Melbourne Mavericks. But because Mindfreak started off on their own terms and they were able to actually make good usage of the Transcendence, get value out of it, it was too much to come back from for Melbourne Mavericks, even though they managed to pick Aki after the EMP. So I like that from Melbourne, from Mindfreak. For Melbourne now, it means that they are into round number 3, onto Control Center. Gusto playing the Mei.
2, 1. Round 3.
So is Christoph. So we get to be seeing a bit of snow goats out on both sides.
Feels like these teams know what the other team is playing before they even come out. This is going to be interesting, for sure.
Flying ice. It's a hailstorm.
It is a little bit of hailstorm. The big hail. Oh, Aki. Oh, that shield just coming through.
Yeah.
Oh, from Davey. Will save them. And Mindfreak looking like they're going to find the first fight win here. So the point should go their way as it does unlock. they're putting themselves in a good position here, Jordan. This is what they need to be doing, whether they come out with a win today or not. They're certainly giving themselves the start that they need.
Well, if they lose this series, Melbourne Mavericks, it's really going to rock them because they felt as though they started off the season well, but it may be the opposite kind of a storyline to Ground Zero. While Ground Zero's on the up and up, Melbourne Mavericks are starting to falter a little bit, losing last week and this week already Mindfreak putting them under the pump.
Oof. So close there to Davey having the Earth Shatter. Yeah, the trans coming through just a little bit later than desired. Earth Shatter, though, comes out, needs to follow it up with more, but no, the grab from Nami followed up with a little bit more damage there from Melbourne. We'll bring the point back across to them at 33% for Mindfreak.
There was a small instance there where I felt like Mindfreak could actually win that fight, but a few things just go awry for them. Still, though, 33% for free at the start of the round. You're not disappointed by that. Now it comes a case of trying to recontest. Baki used that Transcendence a second earlier. It definitely could have been a different story. Gusto does use his Ice Block pretty early on.
Addy quite low. Davey goes down. That's a pick from Nami as well onto Addy eventually. And Mindfreak going to lose this fight before it even begins. Now both teams are even 33% apiece.
They're spawn camping.
Yeah, it's going to be Melbourne spawn camping.
Not going to be too fun to fight against the May at this kind of a choke point.
No, that's kind of the problem that you got to deal with, right? Half your team goes through, half your team caught on the other side of an ice wall.
I think Melbourne Mavericks using their May a lot better on the defense than Mindfreak were able to. You can really see that the walls are having a big impact. The Blizzard down there as well for Melbourne Mavericks is essentially a free team fight win. So that time is starting to tick up. Mindfreak, their chances of winning this map starting to slip away. Again, toward the high ground. Again, a cutoff from the May wall, but Graviton Surge this time down from Addy. The recontest from Mindfreak looks good.
Davey knocked down by an Earth Shatter, but Aki going to throw out the Transcendence. Christoph does use Blizzard, but it doesn't seem to have the impact it needs to. Mini Gusto, though, found out. Mindfreak slowly turning it around, perhaps on the back of Swilko's dropping of the beat, Jordan. Now they'll push on through. At about 90%, they should be able to bring it back towards their side of things, but now Melbourne a one-fight win away from locking down Lijiang Tower.
Absolutely, that cost both the teams a lot, actually. And the benefit for Mindfreak is that Addy will have the Graviton Surge shortly, maybe even in the next fight, depending on how it turns out. And if Mindfreak can win the next fight off just the grab, that'll give them the opportunity to then cycle through the rest of the ultimates. Big ability to come back into this round for Mindfreak here. Christoph really will look to eat the Blizzard as well from Gusto. Here's grab.
Well, it will come through. They need to follow it up with damage here, Jordan. That's where they've struggled before. Winter goes down, as does Gusto. So this is precisely what you were just talking about. Mindfreak able to get the fight win only using the grab.
And look at what that's done to their ult economy. You've got Aki now up to 98%. You've got the Earth Shatter for Davey pretty much here as well. Probably both of the support ultimates are going to be available for Mindfreak. So assuming Melbourne Mavericks gets their... I guess let's assume they get their Blizzard down here. The reality is that they probably don't actually find any picks through that if the Sound Barrier and the Transcendence are good from Mindfreak.
Shatter comes through. It's actually Davey who goes down, though, to Nami. Transcendence used by Aki and Baubles. Mini with an Earth Shatter.
Beat's not ready
follows
yet.
up with the charge. Little J down. Mindfreak dropping like flies, Jordan. And, well, it's going to be Mini with the fly swatter, to be honest. And
yeah, it's all gone wrong there for Mindfreak.
Yeah,
hasn't it? Davey getting picked like that. It's basically meaning that the round is going to be lost without a real contest, which is so disappointing. I think for Mindfreak there, all they needed to do was try and keep that fight going a little bit longer. They didn't need to force the fight so early. You need to wait for that Sound Barrier to come up. Then you have the two support ultimates.
And that's exactly what we saw. We were talking about on Monday, right? When we were
even earlier in the game, like Ground Zero were doing that really well. But Mindfreak missing that opportunity to pick up a map on the board. Melbourne Mavericks, they had to work for it, for sure. But Mindfreak, I think, can be disappointed in the end there.
Yeah, a little bit perhaps, but a lot of good to take away for it, considering how poorly the first round went for them. They really didn't look like they were in this match at all, and they somehow managed to bring it back, even playing very similar team comps, if not identical, in the second round and making it work for them, Jordan, which was, I guess, I was concerned that maybe Aki was going to need to swap off, and in the end that wasn't the case.
Well, it's at least for Mindfreak like a pretty good showing. You know, it's not like they got absolutely steamrolled here on Lijiang Tower. It'll be interesting to see how well they can contest the rest of this series. I wonder if it may have even been a better case for them to not swap the Mei off to the D.Va in that final fight. You know, if they would have stayed on the Mei, keep going, keep doing what they were doing, because it was, in a sense, kind of working.
Well, the Mei was Mei much better on defense, really, you feel, as well, than when you're on attacks. So they kept the Mei through all of the attacking phase when they were trying to push through the choke points when the Mei wasn't as effective, and then all of a sudden, when it was more effective, they decided to swap off. So
yeah, it's easy for us to sit here and say they should have done this and they should have done that. But end of the day, they've made the decision. It does end up costing them the map. Not that individual decision, but all of them.
Yes.
And Kings Row will be coming up. So for Mindfreak, I think they need to strike back here. You don't come back from a 2-0 deficit against a team like Melbourne Mavericks. Mindfreak need to get on top early, which they haven't been able to do straight away. But at least if they can equalize here, it keeps a bit of the momentum out of the hands of Melbourne Mavericks.
What do you think about these team comps? Do you think that we're going to be seeing something similar again from Melbourne? Obviously, the first point of Kings Row doesn't lend itself to the Farah or something like that, should you wish to.
Yeah, I mean, I would have not actually predicted that we were going to see that from Melbourne Mavericks or Mindfreak at all. But now that we've kind of got a little bit of a sneak peek of that on Lijiang Tower, there's always the opportunity. I think Kings Row is a little bit more goats-oriented. You know, you like to have the Reinhardt on this map. So I wouldn't be expecting it necessarily here. Like maybe the Sombra goats, yeah. Winter is playing the Mei. That's probably not going to last too much longer. It's an interesting defensive setup here for Aki, because typically you're not going to run Ana straight out of the gate like that, but they must be expecting the Sombra goats. D.Va, obviously a big problem for an Ana player, so Aki's recognized that there is no D.Va. The same can be said for Melbourne Mavericks, with Winter now going over onto onto Ana as well.
Yep. So some interesting team comps here for sure. Not something that you always see, Elfishguy. So no Brick, no D.Va, Ana and Sombra instead for both of these teams. Melbourne going to push out onto the point, but it's Baubles who goes down first to Mindfreak. Davy's quite low, Swilco low as well. So the potential here for a counter coming out from Melbourne. They're now in a reasonable position on the point, and of course they have their main tank as well. Something that Mindfreak will need to wait a little bit longer to get back on their side. There's the first tick heading very quickly towards the second. The spawns will start coming through for the defensive team now.
Yeah, Christoph put really low, has to back away from the fight. Not going to be able to find any kills. It's looking bad here for Mindfreak unless they get kills off of that grab, which they do not. And it's the EMP which turns the tide in the favor of Melbourne Mavericks.
Look at that, they'll clean up the first objective as a result. The payload now comes out. Melbourne looking strong, 5 minutes on the clock, heading towards checkpoint B. And looking quite convincing, really, and with team comps again that are different to literally every other time we've seen teams play so far this week.
It's definitely not necessarily standard, but it's not really so far out of the ballpark that it's unexpected, put it that way. Still, Melbourne Mavericks have done a good job pushing forward here. They've taken really good control of Phase B already. It's going to take Mindfreak a little bit to regain that control. Christopher, it's a nice hack onto that med pack, and the EMP is great.
Oh, look at that. Huge plays coming through. Davey with a good Earth Shatter in combination with that EMP will allow Mindfreak essentially a free fight win. And they will stem the flow just for now. But Melbourne still in a pretty good position here, Jordan, and they've got a few ultis to work with as well. Obviously that grab a little bit less effective potentially if you don't have the D.Va self-destruct to combo with. There's the grab coming through, so it's on the back of the Zarya now to do a ton of damage. Davey goes down to Fluoro, and you can see...
Nice shadow.
See that Nami was coming through with a ton of damage. Yeah, the shatter followed up from Mini will result in that win going across to Melbourne. So the payload's going to get moving once more. Mindfreak is going to get another chance to contest. They've got something to work with. They're going to have the grab as well. So we'll see if this will be enough for them.
Getting it back into position in time. It does look like they will. Transcendence for Ball, so Melbourne Mavericks shouldn't be too scared of this Graviton Surge. Now rally from Slidzor J. EMP hits everyone on Mindfreak.
Look at that great work coming out from Gusto there, and a fight win that we thought was going to go Mindfreak's way very quickly does not, and now that payload very close.
Well, it wasn't really a fight, was it?
No, it wasn't. And there we go, the third phase now begins, 4:20 on the clock. And Melbourne didn't really need to throw much into that at all. And in the meantime, they've had an opportunity to build up their ultis. They're now back ahead of where Mindfreak was in the ultimate economy as a result.
The power of the EMP.
Yeah. So
but now Mindfreak have that in their back pocket. Christoph is nearly there. Still hanging on to the grab from previous fights. So the real opportunity here for Mindfreak is if they can bait out a few of the ultimates from Melbourne Mavericks, let Melbourne Mavericks start the fight. They're going to go straight away with the EMP though. Transcendence is there, but that is a fantastic bio nade. Oh my god! Aki has just hit 4 of the Melbourne Mavericks players, and that is going to be a clean wipe indeed. It was a great Transcendence from Portables, but it doesn't matter if everyone's anti-healed.
Yeah, well that's the benefit of the Ana, isn't it? So Melbourne will get a fight win there. Mindfreak changing it up just a tad. As a result, they're like, you know, we probably want to deal with that nade. So we're going to bring a Diva into the mix. Aki going to get hacked up here by Gusto. Sound barrier. Along with the grab comes through as well. Follow out Baubles trying to throw things through. But it's Gusto with a couple of quick left punches.
Bring back the biff.
Yeah. And it just seems to be rinse and repeat here, Jordan.
Yeah.
So Melbourne push through, Mindfreak win one fight eventually, but that's all they get.
Well, now this is a really good position for Melbourne Mavericks. 96% of the EMP for Gusto. They should be able to push it on through here. Anything that Mindfreak tries to throw out, if they even had anything, is going to be completely deleted. Here's Gusto with that EMP.
Yeah, Nano boosted Mini as well, coming through with the Reinhardt. Davey, Aki, both taken out. They're going to stagger their way onto the point. Baubles with the Transcendence available as well. So one would think it's probably only a matter of time before Mindfreak runs out of members and the payload gets through to Objective C, which it will. And considering they start off with 4:20, probably 3 minutes or so left on the clock here, Jordan. And that wasn't bad at all, I think, from Melbourne Mavericks. 2:18, so not the end of the world for Mindfreak, but still 2 minutes is quite a lot of time.
It is pretty respectable time to finish off with on King's Row. Mindfreak, I think that is a really scary prospect ahead for them now, and it was really great EMP play, I thought, from Gusto that was a big difference maker for Melbourne Mavericks there. It just really allowed them to cycle the economy so well. The question becomes now for Mindfreak, like, do we go back to the tried and true standard goats, or do we play our Sombra goats? Christoph has shown a tendency to want to flex quite a lot in this matchup.
Ready for battle.
Wonder what we're going to see out of these team comps, and
well, Sombra goats on the attack by the looks of things, and on the defense. And I think you'll be happy with this as Melbourne Mavericks, because it worked so well, that matchup in particular for them, throughout their own attacking side.
But no Ana and no Diva here for Melbourne. It's going to be the Brigitte instead. That's the choice. I guess it makes sense when you really think about it, and that's what everyone else essentially plays. But we'll see how it goes up when Mindfreak do have an Ana. So Mindfreak not really changing up much at all from what we saw last time around. Straight out onto the point is where they go, Elfishguy. They really want to make something of this. They are not wasting any time.
Absolutely.
But as a result, Winter's Shield Bash onto Davey. A bit of damage from the rest of the Melbourne team. Will see Davey go down and Mindfreak forced to fall back.
Yeah, that Shield Bash even still so powerful. Like, you can't Shield Bash through the shields anymore, but if the shield gets dropped for even a second, the Brigitte pounces. And everyone knows to focus the player that's stunned up. And you see how quickly Davey falls.
Yeah. Back onto the point. You can hear the hack coming through onto Davey. They're targeting the Reinhardt here for Mindfreak. And again, immediately, almost immediately, to be fair, it was about 4 seconds before Davey goes down. Mindfreak 2 from 2 in unsuccessful attempts here on the point. Melbourne's doing pretty well to target Davey, to be honest, Jordan, and something's going to need to change.
They've been targeting Davey throughout this entire series so far. Like I think he's been having a rough series. Gusto still sitting around on the high ground. Now just trying to charge that EMP up because he's really close to it, 90%. Yep. That'll be the next team fight that...
Well, it's a nano boost to Davey this time around. They're not going to be able to bully him for a few seconds. Mini goes down. The EMP, though, going to come out from Melbourne, so they want to fight this fight, that's for sure. Grab coming out from Nami as well. Davey eventually does go down. The 1-for-1 trade. Melbourne bringing it back. They're onto the point. And look, Mindfreak managed to find 40%. But if you get 40% in 2 minutes, then in another 2 minutes, you're still not going to be all of the way there. Yeah, definitely not. This is looking really good for Melbourne Mavericks. Admittedly, that last fight would have been a lot better if they could have only used the EMP there. They wouldn't have had to throw the grab in. They wouldn't have had to throw the support ultimate in. But now, you know, you've only got a Sound Barrier and Earth Shatter to hold with here for Melbourne Mavericks, and there's an EMP for Christoph. So unless Fluru gets a really fantastic EMP, well, there we go. That's
beat drop, which he does, it's still not going to be enough by the looks of things.
Well, the thing is, it shouldn't be enough here, Jordan. That's more so the point. This should be a pretty clean fight win here for Mindfreak between the EMP and I think the Shatter coming out from Davey there as well. Yeah. It's going to secure them objective A. The payload going to get removed from the garage. Get it on out. Break that one out.
Melbourne Mavericks, or rather Mindfreak, just playing that rock, paper, scissors kind of a game, and eventually they come out ahead. Melbourne Mavericks want to recontest straight away. Look at this, very aggressive. Winter overextending a little bit there. Will get shield bashed himself and eventually smashed in the face by a hammer from Davey.
Melbourne all very low as well. There was serious potential for Mindfreak to follow through there and start picking off the rest of the Mavericks team, but it will not be the case. Content for now with the payload moving. Addy trying to get a grab as well. What do you think of these team comps now that Melbourne have swapped back to the Ana from the Brig?
Well, again, they're both recognizing that it looks like it's going to be Sombra Ghost for the rest of this map. So no Diva to deal with for Ana, makes life easy.
Waiting for the trance. It's going to be an Earth Shatter through the middle, and Little J goes down to Mini.
How is he alive that long?
I don't know. But Melbourne will be able to get onto the point, and I guess this is what we saw from them before. They'll win 3 out of 4 fights. And to be honest, Jordan, if you win 3 out of 4 fights every time, you're probably going to win the match. Mindfreak now sitting on a ton of ultimates though. So they'll be looking to make something of this. They're going to start off with an EMP coming out there from Christoph, and the rest of the team will follow up. Davey finds 2. That's 3.
Well, what are you going to do as Melbourne Mavericks there? You can't press your Q button, you can't win the fight. Yeah. Had to be Gusto to start that off with the EMP if they were going to win. They had nothing else. This will probably be enough for Mindfreak actually to push it into phase C. Don't think Melbourne Mavericks is going to get back here in time. No, it doesn't look like they're even going to try. So that's pretty good.
Would you rather a Zen or a Brig?
Right now?
Well, that's the difference here, right?
I think I'd probably rather a Zen.
Look at that huge EMP, but Wilco manages to avoid it, drops the B, keeps the team alive, 1-for-1, but Davey goes down, Mini finding that pick. Melbourne now in a bit of a better position, particularly if Mini can find another. No, not this time around. They're still on the payload, but Mindfreak are all playing very aggressive. Baubles has a Transcendence. Addy has the grab.
Luckily that fight has lasted long enough now for Melbourne Mavericks to build their own ultimates up and look a little bit more comfortable.
Well, here's the grab, Jordan. They need to follow it up with damage. Baubles uses the Transcendence though, and you can see exactly what you're talking about here. Melbourne have managed to save up their ultimates just in time. Now they're back in charge.
There'll be an EMP shortly for Christoph though, and that might be enough to actually push them through. But already Melbourne Mavericks have done enough to give themselves a time bank advantage should this head into another round of play. How much of a time bank advantage though remains to be seen, and can they finish it off here, get the 2-0, and really put Mindfreak in a precarious position for the series. Gusto still having a look around the back. I don't think he's going to charge this EMP up before Christoph gets an opportunity to use his. Look, he's already looking for it. He does find Fourballs, so there it is. Fourballs surely goes down here.
No,
Great
the
sound
beat
barrier.
comes through
Wow,
just
Fluoro.
in time. Somehow Fluoro manages to dodge the EMP, but Addy does come through with 2 picks. Again, Mindfreak going to try and find themselves a fight win. They've been struggling to string more than one together, and that has been a problem. But potential now for them to get the payload through to objective C. Gusto with an EMP. Translocates on top, throws it through. Finds 4. Addy's already gone down, even though that grab was there. 90 seconds on the clock. Mindfreak starting to run out of time.
Wilco
Now
gets a
Davy's
boot.
gone down, Jordan. It's going to be hard. Yes, Wilco finds Nami. Can he find another?
You could tell Swilko was looking for that. He's done some good work already. Great sleep, though, from Winter. I don't know if it's going to be enough to actually keep Melbourne Mavericks in this fight. Mini swapped over onto the Roadhog to provide maybe a bit more sustain on this point, just to sit on there.
Yeah. Well, the Roadhog can certainly, I guess, solo it for just a little, particularly when you take a breather, plus that huge health pot to begin with. And eventually, Mindfreak will manage to get the payload across the line all the way through to objective C. But how much time is left on the clock?
Not as much as what
Very little.
Melbourne Mavericks had, so
Less than a minute, yeah. So,
gives a little bit of a bonus to the time bank there for Melbourne Mavericks as well.
must have been very close to a minute anyway, because Melbourne already had a couple of minutes on the clock, so it ended up better than it looked like it was going to. I think we can give Mindfreak that one. But they now will need to follow this up with, you'd think probably a capture of Objective A. They need to certainly make something of this. They're not going to get very many opportunities at all.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Slitz J hovering the Farah. I wonder.
Just do it.
We know he likes it. Addy's onto the Widow. It definitely is an option, but it looks like
I assume this is just going to be Addy going for the first pick and
cooler
then
heads have prevailed.
swapping back off.
I don't
Not even going to get that far.
Is up the top, so yeah, he's not going to give it even a crack.
We've seen it a couple of times.
Attackers incoming. Defend
60 seconds here for Mindfreak to get as many ticks on Objective A as they can. Potentially an opportunity here for them to capture it and get onto the payload as well.
Well, for Mindfreak, really what you want to do is try and enable Christoph to build an EMP in this next fight.
That's a big one. Nami goes down to Slitz J. Can they follow it up with more? They're already onto the objective. You can hear the ticks coming through. The sleeper's gone on to Davey. Now they need to defend him before any sort of free damage comes through. Time is ticking for both teams, to be honest. Mini low, Winter low, Baubles low as well.
EMP's here for Gusto in just a second.
Christoph a lot further behind. Addy now goes down to Fourballs. Melbourne, you'd expect, will have all of their players back
There
on
it
the
is.
point. Davey does have the nano boost and does find Mini. But this is the last fight here for Mindfreak. Can they find themselves
Christoph
the
has
first
EMP.
objective?
Thrown it out there as well. Winter gets taken down. I just don't think Melbourne Mavericks got the value out of Gusto's EMP that they needed. Luro under pressure as well. This is looking like it's going to go well for Mindfreak. They're going to cap that first point.
Wow.
And now from here, like, the sky's the limit for Mindfreak. Once you're into that overtime push,
objective.
you can go anywhere.
Stop the payload.
Anything is possible now, Jordan. So much so, the Gusto is going to swap across to Diva. So now Melbourne need to win one fight, whilst Mindfreak need to win all of them. And we saw how it was a struggle earlier for Mindfreak to string together more than sort of one fight win at a time. They're going to need to do better now. But this is all bonus points for them. And not a bad result at all. Sound barrier and earth shatter committed here by Melbourne. And with Davey going down, it is looking very good. Very good opportunity here for the Melbourne Mavericks to stop the payload. 47.81 meters through.
Well, still, that'll give Mindfreak another one fight on the defense if that's all that they get out of it.
Yep.
But, you know, it's better than not having cap point A at all.
Certainly better than what it looked like they were going to do. In 2 minutes 20, it's certainly possible, even potentially sometimes likely to hold objective A
for that long, yes.
For more than 2 minutes 20. Yeah, so look, this could be.
But if we get to a situation where, again, we have the Sombra Goats, I think it's pretty fair to say that you would expect an EMP to be built in that 2 minutes and 20 from both sides.
Yes.
And then, in that case, that probably favors the attacking team.
Ready for battle.
Which would, in this case, be Melbourne Mavericks to pick up point A at least. The defense doesn't even look like there is going to be the Sombra.
No.
Aki will opt for the Ana anyway.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Again, expecting Gusto to be on the Sombra. I think that's fair enough for Mindfreak. It's really been the tendency of Melbourne Mavericks to play this composition today.
Interesting lineup here from Melbourne for the moment. We'll see if this is what they run out with or not. 2:20 on the clock. They only need to, of course, cap objective A in that time, at which point they can just safely jump onto the payload. We are going to run out with the May, Jordan, but Mini's going to swap across to the Reinhardt. When I say May, what I mean is we're not going to play the May.
It wouldn't have really made much sense on this point.
Wouldn't have made much sense, no.
No.
But
it would make no sense.
Neither just sitting there on a May in spawn. So I'm not sure what they're actually waiting for.
Winter was just trying to play with his name. Melbourne Mavericks going to get some positioning now off of that. Gusto really looking to build this EMP. If he can get it up quickly, it's a free team fight win for Melbourne Mavericks. Maybe too much for Mindfreak to come back on. Like, if they get cleanly wiped, Melbourne Mavericks just push through.
Yeah. Mindfreak holding on the point. Melbourne have swapped all the way around. A little bit less useful if you don't have a Widowmaker from behind. But Winter going to get caught out there by Slidsword J and Mindfreak. Going to force Melbourne back off the point.
Yep.
Need to regroup. So already minute 10 wasted. Half their time remains.
You say wasted. I say 97% of the EMP built, and Melbourne Mavericks still have got positioning around the point. It all is going to hinge on Gusto getting a good EMP here. They just need to wait for Winter to rejoin that fight. But this should definitely be Melbourne Mavericks. There is that EMP. Six man.
6 players into the EMP. And as you said, Jordan, the rest of it is going to follow suit here. Yeah, it's pretty quickly written down in the history books that Melbourne will win that fight without dropping even a single player. Now, their ultimates are looking pretty strong as well. They were just playing that EMP card.
They might have won that too cleanly, Ben, because look how fast Mindfreak has gotten back into position.
Yep.
If that would have taken a little bit longer, you know, 1 or 2 players still respawning right now, Mindfreak would be in a much worse position. But, like I said, at the very least for Mindfreak, having pushed it even this far, does give them one more shot at the defense, and that might well be enough.
Well, they only need to defend once, right? Like, you just need to win one fight on.
And both sides have got good ultimates.
Yes.
Gusto, of course, doesn't have self-destruct because he swapped off on the Diva, but Grab goes down
that's
first
a good
for Melbourne.
grab as well.
And Gusto ate daddies.
Oh, the Earth Shatter comes through as well. Davey, oh, look, I'm not even going to bother. Look at all of these skills going in Melbourne's favour, Jordan.
Well,
That's going to be 2-0 at half-time.
As soon as Gusto swaps off to Diva, he eats the grab. Melbourne Mavericks is going to win map number 2. And with that, I start to get the feeling that Mindfreak is going to slip away in this series. Like, we've seen 2 really close maps, but Mindfreak just doesn't have the goods up against Melbourne Mavericks at the moment, it seems.
It's definitely been tough so far, hasn't it? It's been a hard slog, I feel. And Mindfreak have done a reasonable job of keeping themselves in it. But if you want to succeed this season, you need to be going a little bit better than that against a team like the Melbourne Mavericks. They're the team whose slot you want to take in the final.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Like, Melbourne Mavericks, they've been seeing Mindfreak get all of these decent results against some of the top teams. They've been saying, okay, let's not underestimate Mindfreak today. And that certainly seems to be paying off here for Melbourne Mavericks. And I think for Melbourne Mavericks, like it's exactly what I said at the start of this broadcast, at the start of this match, where, you know, it's well and good to get maps off of teams like Order or Sydney Drop Bears or Blank or whatever. But it doesn't matter if you're not going to get series wins against the middle of the pack teams. Because that still
map
isn't going to be
points
enough
don't
to flip you over.
actually count unless
You're
you've got
equal footing.
victories
Yeah.
in matches. So it's the second part of the puzzle, but you need to get the sides done first before you start worrying about the middle.
Yeah.
So overall, yeah, Melbourne have done pretty well today. They're going to secure themselves the first 2 map wins here against Mindfreak. And I understand why you say you feel that perhaps from here, Jordan, Mindfreak are going to struggle to bring this back. But we have seen some decent moments from this Mindfreak team. So, you know, we'll have to see how Horizon or Lunar Colony goes after the break. But yeah, it's definitely been tough. And again, they need to win more than 1 fight at a time. That's the problem.
Just doesn't feel like Mindfreak have the consistency
Yeah.
here that Melbourne Mavericks do have. I think Guzto being able to have such an impact as well on the Sombra really puts a big amount of doubt in the mind of Mindfreak, because they always have to question, are we going to be going up against Sombra Goats? Are we going against standard Goats? And then that in turn puts a lot of pressure onto the main tanks and that kind of thing for Mindfreak. So I think Guzto really for me at the moment was the MVP there of Kings Row, and if he can continue to have that kind of a performance with the Sombra, I don't see Melbourne Mavericks losing this series from here.
Well, that's half time, guys and girls. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back right after this break.